said that this was Biden at his best.
Sure.
That's what I saw.
I don't doubt.
What other people thought. I was obviously wrong. So I'm not sure what my takeaway is here.
That is Joe Scarborough today on his cable television show, for which a giant megacorp, the patriarchy, pays him millions of dollars to lie and lie and lie. And when he gets caught lying, you know what he does? He comes up with a new lie and he lies again because he's a liar. And once you learn that a person is a liar, well, it becomes problematic believing them going forward, doesn't it? I believe it does. Pretty amazing stuff. I tell you, I'm getting texts from friends here about the mailbag, wonderful mailbag questions. And feels like we're still being lied to all over the place and what's going on with the government. Not getting answers to a lot of questions, as Debbie asked. The drone invasion, still haven't learned enough about that. Assassination attempts, plural, on President Trump. And a friend of mine who's an investigator also say, a little disappointed in Pam Bondi, too, the Attorney General. Why aren't people in handcuffs? Why the Democrats arrest everybody around them? They arrest them at airports. They put them in leg shackles. They put them in solitary confinement without food and water. They won't let them talk to lawyers. The Democrats make that normal. They arrest grandmothers for praying near abortion clinics where the Democrats are harvesting the organs of the innocent. And somehow the Trump people and Pam Bondi and you got the FBI, you got the Justice Department, do something. Arrest somebody, for God's sake. And I understand that completely. I really do. Now let's get back to the big lie that is Jake Tapper. His nickname is Big Lie. I think in college his frat name was Big Lie. It was Jake Big Lie Tapper back in college. And yeah, what's that? BLT. Yeah, BLT, Big Lie Tapper. Yeah, BLT. He's got Jake BLT, Big Lie Tapper. Isn't that amazing? Just great stuff. Now, one of the things that, this is in the audio I want to play for you now. Jake Tapper being asked questions by the wonderful Megyn Kelly, the great Megyn Kelly, and one of the things that, I found Jake Tapper. He found out Hunter Biden was in charge of everything at the White House, but he just found out now, and he just found out that Joe Biden has prostate cancer, and now they're saying, what was it, 2014 was the last time that his blood test bothered to look at the PSA test, normal for men of a certain age, the prostate-specific antigen, which indicates there might be trouble with your prostate, which is not terribly uncommon in grown men. And they haven't tested him in more than a decade, even though, interestingly enough, it fits perfectly with Ezekiel Emanuel, the famous cancer doctor, oncologist, who said he thinks that Joe Biden may have had this prostate cancer for a decade, and then the next day they come out and say, he hasn't had the prostate-specific antigen tested in 11 years. Isn't that a coincidence? Kind of like Hunter Biden getting a pardon for 11 years, not for 10 years, but for 11 years. And the New York Times says, well, there's nothing to see. Well, of course, everybody gets a pardon for 11 years. Doesn't that make perfect sense? I'm guessing that the Biden family and their team of crooked lawyers knew that 11 years ago going to be real trouble for them, so they made sure that the pardon went back 11 years and not just 10 years. But Jake Tapper said, we just learned that Hunter Biden was in charge of everything. And Hunter Biden was boinking his brother's widow and got her addicted to crack. And he just learned that. Well, I told you that, I think a year ago or more than a year ago. I told you that. But Jake Tapper doesn't listen to my show, so he has no idea what's going on in the world. These guys. All right, let's go where we left off after number 4, and we're going to number 5 now. Fake Tapper. not a truth seeker, not a truth teller, a former Democrat Capitol Hill staffer, a Democrat frontman, not a journalist at all. Megyn Kelly sitting down with fake Tapper.
You covered the Biden presidency aggressively throughout the 4 years, and you didn't cover mental acuity.
No, he
hardly
didn't.
At all.
Not aggressively.
I mean, time and time again, when issues came up, you seemed to be running cover for the president.
I don't think
interested.
that's true.
I don't think that's true. Well, you're not actually sitting in judgment of you in this particular instance. Everyone else is. You know, it's your job to sit in judgment of everyone else. Now, it's everyone else's job to sit in judgment of you. You are not a truth teller. You're not a truth seeker. You're not a legitimate journalist. You're a Democrat Party frontman. Everybody knows it. And Megyn Kelly having none of it.
There was an attempted cover-up. It could only ever work if you allowed it, if the press allowed it. Some of us tried not to, and some of us were complicit.
The Biden White House did not like me. Okay, I do not have great connections with the Biden White House.
Bourgeois.
Well, you have a lot of sources. You say you talked to over 200 sources for this book.
This
so
was
you
after
have
the
some
election.
You could have called and worked.
No, that's the point, is that they were not being honest.
They were
That's
not
How
being
did the Wall
honest.
Street Journal get it in June of 2024? And Jake Tapper and CNN couldn't find sources for this story then before he dropped out?
How did I have it? I was not working in the White House. I used to have a White House badge many years ago for a number of years. But I was not, and I'm just drinking beer and spitballing with people in town. I'm watching the news. I have access to Al Gore's amazing internet. I knew what was going on with Joe Biden. But Jake Tapper in the CNN newsroom in Washington, D.C., in a studio with a bank of cameras and teams of producers who he doubtless abuses and belittles just based on his behavior. I couldn't know. They weren't telling the truth. So you're all the anonymous sources all over town with your secret unnamed source who spoke on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to discuss the topic. And those are the ones lying to everybody? No, you're all lying together. It's a circle fest in a hot tub. And Jake, you're one of the lead liars. It continued.
You allowed the Democrat to rip on the report as a Rupert Murdoch sponsored hit piece.
No.
It's just
Megyn,
well, that's
Megyn,
what happened.
if we're going to do this, let's just stick to the facts here, okay? When there is a damaging
Jake,
report,
that's what I've been doing all along.
Right.
One of us
what you just said.
didn't miss the biggest story of the century when it comes to presidential politics.
Yeah.
And one of us did.
Yeah, and she's not in Washington, and she's not going to the White House every day, and she doesn't have an entire network of, a White House correspondent for the Megyn Kelly Show and the Capitol Hill correspondents from the Megyn Kelly Show and editorial meetings and conference calls. She doesn't have all the resources that CNN has, and she knew it, and I knew it. Michael Piercy knew it. Jasmine knew it. But Jake Tapper is claiming he didn't know this, and, they were lying to us. Well, it's your job to cut through that and report the truth and to report that they're lying to you. And I've been reporting from here that they are lying about these things and that what I know to be true is not what they're saying because I tell the truth and Jake Tapper has no interest in that. And then Jake Tapper pathetically and sadly on with Megyn Kelly, who is identified by the left-wing radical lying Sacagaweas at the CNN and elsewhere as saying, that conservative media who were, and I would score myself that way, conservative media, saying, they called us all kinds of terrible names and slandered us and maligned us. We should have a class action lawsuit and sue them for like $500 million. We should just find the lies that they told about me and people like me, people who are telling the truth, and these megacorps should be sued for $500 million. Remember when the young man from Covington Catholic who was in for the March for Life, Nick Sandman, came to Washington. They slandered him and maligned him and misrepresented him. And he sued them, and I hope he got hundreds of millions of dollars from these charlatans, from these frauds. It's not just the Reverend Al charlatan. Jake Tapper is a charlatan, too. But listen to this pathetic admission. This is just sad. His mother should disown him after this one.
Alex and I are here to say that conservative media was right and conservative media was correct, and that there should be a lot of soul searching, not just among me,
there won't be,
but among the legacy media to begin with, all of us, for how this was covered or not covered sufficiently. 100%.
100%.
So
too late.
I mean, I'm not here to defend coverage that I've already acknowledged I wish I could do differently.
This is like cheating on your wife for 8 years and then saying, oh, I'm so sick, but now I feel bad. And I wish I had it with like underage boys. And but now, but you got to forgive me because now I feel bad about it. I should have known better. I've been lying and cheating and feeding you a lot of bourgeois. And Alex Thompson is the guy he's referring to, who I read yesterday, is the guy who actually wrote the book and couldn't get a publisher and brought Jake Tapper in to get publicity, to get a publisher, and then to get publicity. There ought to be a lot of soul searching. Well, first you have to have a soul, which I think you've demonstrated may be lacking. And you know, conservative media was right. They were right all along. They were ahead of us. Well, again, I don't have a White House pass. I don't have a team of producers and people covering all the various beats for me. I'm just me, and Michael helps. And and I got friends in town, and I talk to friends, but I know what's going on, and I learned how to cover this town a long time ago. And here's one of the things that I learned when I was a small child. Some people lie all the time, and we call them Democrats. And Jake Tapper is a Democrat. Therefore, Jake Tapper lies all the time. See how that works? Just amazing. And then Jake Tapper went on with Katie Couric. Remember Katie Couric? She used to be an anchor woman on CBS News for a period of time. And she was on CNN before that, I think. And so Jake Tapper just selling this book. Nobody should ever buy this book. Don't buy the book. The book should be banned. It shouldn't really be banned, but nobody should buy it. That'd be the just desserts here. Jake Tapper on with Katie Couric, who's just smiling up a storm, and there are dimples in the cheeks, and you can see every tooth in her head, and she batting her eyes like a schoolgirl. And, oh, Jake, it's so nice to be sitting down with you. And then revealing things that I told you here in real time, that the entire vast apparatus of the Democrat news media concealed from the American public for years on end. But you heard it all here. And I'm not going to say it was exclusive to me, but I reported a lot of it first, and certainly I was talking about it, and I make it more interesting and more entertaining, too. But here's Katie Couric, still out there, and talking to fake Tapper.
How big a factor was the Hunter stuff?
I think it was considerable. I think Hunter was driving the decision-making for the family in a way that people... He was almost like a chief of staff of the family.
Does that strike you as pretty bizarre?
It's bizarre because I think he is provably, demonstrably unethical, sleazy, and prone to horrible decisions. I mean,
tell me how you really feel.
Such a good line. So original, so clever. So wait a minute. He was driving the decision-making for the family of the President of the United States and the leader of the free world, the crackhead, stripper, knocker-upper, paternity-denying, kicked out of the Navy for repeated cocaine use, FARA violating, no-show job in Ukraine for $1 million a year, smoking crack with Marion Barry, Hunter Biden. Is that the Hunter Biden we're talking about, who's driving the decisions for the first family of the United States of America? And it's, isn't that? And we're just laughing it off. Hey, how about whose cocaine was it in the White House? Another thing that one of our brilliant listeners asked in the just amazing stuff. Aren't they something? Boy, I'm telling you. You're a Democrat party. And I've got more with Katie Couric. Yeah, so wait a minute. He just learned now that Hunter Biden was driving the decision-making for the family of the President of the United States, this useless crackhead? And now we're hearing it? Not just now? There's more coming up on that, too. You know that the all-new third-generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm is finally here, the wonderful air purifier. It builds on the incredible success of previous generations, and those models earned thousands of five-star reviews on Al Gore's Amazing Internet, became a bestseller in no time at all. This new Thunderstorm uses two technologies that studies have shown help to kill up to 99.9% of bacteria, of viruses floating in the air that you're breathing. It removes dust and pet stuff and smoke and a whole lot more from the air that you breathe, and it gets rid of any stinky odor without filters to have to buy and replace over and over again. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm will help get rid of any stinky smell, guaranteed. Talking about trash cans, cigarette smoke, liberal protesters, musty basements, no match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. And any smell will disappear in a matter of seconds. Right now, because you hang out with me, you can save $200 American on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. Put one upstairs, the teenager's room, the kitchen, the musty basement, any place. Bring one to the office. Give one as a gift. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code CHRIS3. Say HRIS, the number 3, to save $200 on 3 thunderstorms. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS3. I still love the Goldfinger, Jimmy Page, John Paul Jones stuff, too. All right, I've got more of the fraud, the great fraud perpetrated by our corrupt news media with Jake Tapper and Katie Couric coming up. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at WashingtonTimes.com/Chris. Jake Tapper, very comfortable lying all the time. We have audio I want to play for you of what he said in 2020, attacking conservative media, attacking the truth, bitterly, angrily, and all of it was a lie. And now he's sitting in front of Katie Couric saying, oh, well, look at this. Hunter Biden was running the show at the White House. Who was controlling the auto pen? He's still not engaging in journalism. But let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Tim, calling from the state of New York. Tim, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Well, hi, Chris. Long time, first time. I got a couple things I want to bring to your attention. Number one, James Carville recently spouting off about the only reason that Miss LaMonica MacGyver was charged was because she was black. And I wondered why nobody pushed back on him and asked him, well, is the judge in Wisconsin black? No, nobody did. Second thing, I was recently, unfortunately, in a hospital because my father had to have a pacemaker installed, and I found myself wandering the halls, and this one hallway was completely littered with anywhere between 30 and 50 pictures of people appointed to DEI positions, everything from DEI director to DEI financial planner to DEI coordinator, and I just wondered, is this all a result of Obamacare? Is that one of the parts of the destruction that came from that? And thank you for listening, and I'll listen to your answers.
Oh, thank you, Tim. That is, I got to say, you're in a hospital where your father's getting a pacemaker, and you see the, it's Obamacare. It's part and parcel of the same thing. It's the left, and the left. Everything is about race, and the party is the Democrat Party. Now, Jake Tapper, charlatan, fraud that he is. I have access to Al Gore's amazing internet, peace be upon him. He really is the bloated version of the patriarchy, isn't he? A corpulent, patriarchal figure. But in the year 2020, presidential debate, and Joe Biden was a disaster because he's Joe Biden. And Jake Tapper pretended he was the moderator of the debate, right? And Jake Tapper, now I went and I researched this. In 2020, Jake Tapper, allegedly a journalist with CNN, made a number of statements in 2020, presidential election year, statements regarding QAnon. QAnon. What happened to QAnon? Because that was the conspiracy theory to end all conspiracy theories. The Democrats made it up. QAnon and Hunter Biden and the laptop and everything, particularly in the context of the presidential election. And Jake Tapper was very critical of the QAnon conspiracy theory, whatever the hell that is, and its potential threat, Is that right? Oh, did they shoot Steve Scalise on a baseball field? Did they shoot Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania? Did they firebomb the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania with the Jewish governor and his family during Passover after the Seder dinner? Is that QAnon? When did QAnon commit? Are they firebombing Tesla dealerships and shooting Tesla dealerships? Or are they a threat to QAnon? They ever do anything? They self-immolating at the Israeli embassy? Or are these all Democrat acts? The correct answer, they're all Democrat acts. They don't need a conspiracy. They're all glassy-eyed zombies. They're the zombie apocalypse. Yeah, very critical of the QAnon conspiracy theory and its potential threat. He highlighted the FBI's assessment of QAnon as a potential domestic terrorism threat. Even though nothing ever happened, the FBI should be disbanded. Oh, yeah, James Comey's out there trying to sell his book now. And he keeps seeing clamshells with messages. He's getting messages from clamshells everywhere he goes. Kind of weird. Seashells, anyway. He criticized Jake Tapper, criticized Republicans. He said they were trying to embrace QAnon and this conspiracy theory, and they were downplaying, that they were telling the truth is what was happening. And Jake Tapper said it's the QAnon caucus. Republicans and conservative media, everybody telling the truth. He was yelling angrily about it. Tapper also criticized Fox News for airing a segment that he considered gross and irresponsible. Gross is a high school girl's word, by the way, for its connection to QAnon. And Jake Tapper expressed skepticism about claims made by Republicans and Fox News regarding Hunter Biden's alleged laptop and emails. See, it's Republicans and Fox News and QAnon and the laptop. And he was covering up. He was engaged in an angry, bitter cover-up, suggesting that they were attempting to QAnon the election as a verb. And he said these claims are disgusting, and there's no evidence, Jake Tapper said. Just amazing stuff. Now, here's one of the things that Jake Tapper said. This was the night of the presidential debate, and QAnon, Jake Tapper was a moderator. QAnon was a moderator. If there's a QAnon, it's Jake Tapper. Got amazing stuff. So here's Jake Tapper, 2020, the night of the presidential debate.
Charges so heinous, I'm not even going to say them. Just nonsense.
The laptop?
Crap. Tied into QAnon, tied into Pizzagate, tied into the worst things you could say about a person with no evidence, just completely made up.
No evidence.
Is so disgusting.
Disgusting.
And so beneath what this election should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, Jake Tapper, let's be really generous. He was wrong about all of that. He was intellectually lazy, journalistically lazy. He was, this is as generous as it gets. Or he is an angry, bitter, vituperative, lying Sacagawea. I think it's probably more likely B than A. And from October 19th of 2020, CNN anchor says Fox News, GOP are QAnoning the election. That's a Newsweek headline. Just amazing stuff. Now, let's go to Jake Tapper yesterday, talking to Katie Couric, and they're giggling together and preening, and they're having a nice time and just lying to each other. And Hunter Biden, he said that Hunter Biden was driving the decision-making in the White House. That it's as if he was the chief of staff. Maybe he was in charge of the auto pen. Maybe, reporter boy, you should look into that. He said it's bizarre because he's unethical and sleazy and he makes horrible decisions. But he was driving the decision-making. This is what Jake Tapper is now saying yesterday. And by the way, everything in the laptop was all true. And I knew the FBI was lying. I knew that they had the hard drive. I knew what the truth was. How is it that Jake Tapper didn't know what the truth was? And the rest of the filthy news media, the gang of filthies, that's what you call them in plural. They are the filthies. Jake Tapper talking to Katie Couric on Hunter Biden. And it's like, oh, he just found out about this.
Hunter is provably, demonstrably unethical, sleazy, and prone to horrible decisions. I mean,
tell me how you really feel.
After his brother died, he cheated on his wife with his brother's widow and then got her addicted to crack.
Yeah.
That's just one thing I could say.
Yeah. Well, is that bad? That's like family values when it comes to Democrats. But But, Jake, I just played audio of you when it mattered, angrily denouncing people that were telling the truth. And I told you about Hunter Biden banging his brother's widow, and I told you about, being one of 6 brothers, and how you don't move on your brother's girlfriend in high school, much less your brother's ex-wife, you psychopath. And then because you're a crackhead, you get her addicted to crack, then she steals your pistol from you out of your somebody else paid for SUV and throw it in the garbage can behind what the news media called their high-end grocery store, the Biden's favorite grocery store. And Jake Tapper's like, oh, well, what, you didn't know? If you listen to my radio show, you would have known all this stuff in real time. Jake Tapper and Katie Couric. And he's just learning this stuff that we all knew about.
I don't have a lot of personal regard for him, and just based on having nothing to do with, I barely have ever met him. I've met him like once or twice. But I knew Bo. Bo was a great, upstanding guy.
He knew Bo.
Him too, really.
A real loss.
I knew him too.
For the country.
They all sleep with each other.
For the country. But Hunter is not that. And the idea of
I knew Bo.
Letting him drive the family car,
he was so great,
is just really, really questionable.
The family car with the pistol in it that the widow who he got addicted to crack while he was having sex with her and making videos, and she threw the gun in the garbage can, and the news media, just amazing. Man, oh, Manischewitz. Let's skip Jon Stewart for the moment, and let's go to the ironically named Whoopi Goldberg, who's neither Jewish nor happy. But she's actually Karen Johnson. Karen Johnson is her real name. And this is all fine. When you're a lefty, your fictional world, your delusion becomes reality for everyone around you. And Whoopi could declare today that she's a man, and that would be fine with every Democrat in the country because of the mental illness that we call the Democrat Party. Isn't that amazing? But she's on an ABC News television show called The View. They don't see much. But Whoopi Goldberg, hey, wait a minute, we got all kinds of stuff going on, and Jake Tapper's book is coming out, and it's, oh, gosh, I can't believe I just discovered the truth that I never knew because I get my news from myself. And one of the things I say here, because it's true, is that these people don't follow the news. I've said this for years. These fake news people, they don't follow they don't know what's in the news. They get their news from each other. The people at CNN get their news from MSDNC, MS-13 DNC, and the people at MS-13 DNC, they get their news from CNN. And it's a circle fest and a hot tub, as I've described many times. And because they only get their news from each other, they have no actual idea what's going on in the world. You listen to this radio show, so you are very often years ahead. Honestly, we didn't even play my audio from 2020 where I was on Fox News, right, in 2020. And we're talking about Joe Biden and how his brain, she's a broke.
If you don't think Joe Biden is missing a step, if you before today didn't think he was missing a step, you see why they've kept him under wraps, why they are keeping him under wraps. Doug McElway asked the salient question. Are you aware of any cognitive decline?
At a press conference.
If he's not, I think the rest of us are.
Right, exactly. That's what I said. If Joe Biden's not experiencing cognitive decline, then maybe the rest of the country is. And an actual news reporter and a good guy, Doug McElway, at a Biden press conference asked Joe Biden the question, are you experiencing cognitive decline? And Doug McElway, being a nice guy, said, listen, I'm 65 years old. I'm missing a step here and there myself, he said, and you're a lot older than me.
Last question real quick. Some have speculated, sir, that you are subject to some degree of cognitive decline. I'm 65. I don't have word recollection that I used to have. I forget my train of thought from time to time. You got 12 years on me, sir. Have you been tested for some degree of cognitive decline?
I've been tested, and I'm constantly tested. Look, all I got to do is watch me, and I can hardly wait to the cognitive capability of the man I'm running against.
What? The cognitive what? And then he lost his train. He tried to say capability, I think. And it was that day when Doug McElway asked that question of Joe Biden at the White House in 2020 at a press conference. And the news media completely ignored it. Oh, no, we can't ask that because we're a bunch of girls dressed like little girls. And just amazing stuff. Then I was on Fox News that night. I said, if he's not slipping cognitively than the entire country is, because we can all see it. Isn't that amazing? And now, yesterday, on The View, again, an ABC news program where they pay millions of dollars to each of these people. I'll just call them people. Karen Johnson being one of them. And here's Whoopi Goldberg, a.k.a. Karen Johnson. The Jake Tapper book, where Jake Tapper's saying, gosh, it turns out that everything that right-wing media said was true, and everything we said was a big lie.
Should anonymous sources who talked to Tapper have spoken up about their concerns while he was in office, while he was still in office? And my other question is, why is this important to know now?
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to know. Why would we know now?
Yeah.
You know, we got a lot of stuff to be concerned about at the moment.
Yeah, Trump is in there. Why do we know now? Why would Tapper say any of this? So she's an ABC News employee. They pay her millions of dollars. Right? And these people, the corruption it makes the Soviet Union look like the Society of Honest Johns. They've got Joy Behar is one of the people on the show, too, on the thing. And they're really upset that Jake Tapper, who's trying to redeem himself and failing miserably, is out there with a book that somebody else wrote and put Jake Tapper's name on it so they could sell books and buy a house at the beach. This is the most corrupt city in America, more than New York, more than Los Angeles. It's Washington, D.C.
Well, this is what we're concerned about now.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Cutting Medicaid, slashing funding for cancer research.
Change the subject.
Rising
Attack Trump.
prices because of tariffs. Not on
prices
only that,
are
but
dropping.
He also said that Joe Biden has stage 9 cancer. Oh, really? Where did he come up with that? When is Jake Tapper going to write a book about the cognitive decline of the person who is in charge right now?
And it's not it's stage 4 cancer. But there's a scale that is used in terms of prostate cancer, the Gleason scale. And Joe Biden has a score of 9, which means, according to Democrat Party Obamacare oncologist, medical doctor, and Rahm Emanuel's brother, Zeke Emanuel, said that he's probably may have had the cancer for 10 years, certainly had it for years. And somehow they never tested him for his prostate-specific antigen. But it is a 9. So once again, she gets everything wrong because they're ignorant, an ignorant gang of beeps, and they're paid, each of them, millions of dollars by ABC News, the news division. Isn't that amazing? They have a woman that I guess is supposed to be the conservative on the show. I don't actually watch The View. Lisa Farrar Griffin.
This is where I take issue with some folks on the left. We stand with journalists. We stand with the free press when they're going after their opponents like Donald Trump. But when they critically cover Democrats as, oh, no, they're lying. It's fairy dust. It's not true.
It's the left. Well, that's fairy dust. It's that could be crack. We're not entirely sure. Whoopi is mentally ill.
I want somebody to tell me, well, when did you know it was bad? If you knew, why did you wait?
Yeah, I knew.
Can I get in? He said that it was after he moderated the debate.
Yes, but that's not, I'm sorry, baby. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you're telling me that hundreds of people knew that he was not able to do his job, then where the hell was everybody?
He did his job.
Well, they were here. I was here. We were all here. But you guys are so wrong about everything. It's amazing. You may remember Whoopi Goldberg, genius that she is, thought that not a doctor, Jill Biden, should become, she should get a big government job.
I'm hoping Dr. Jill becomes a Surgeon General. His wife. Joe Biden's wife, because he would never do it, but she's a hell of a doctor. She's an amazing doctor.
Because she's a doctor and
PhD.
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
I think she's a teacher, but.
Well, you're speaking, so you're wrong. That's true. Yeah, she's a hell of a doctor. She should be the Surgeon General. Yeah, she has a PhD in education or something. Clearly not a medical doctor. Be the Surgeon General. The left. Just stay here. Stick with me. We do the truth here. The truth is much better. Can we get to Chris Van Hollen and Marco Rubio? Maybe we can. Bum, 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 ba-da-dum, bum, bum. It was a fun hearing on Capitol Hill today, and our Secretary of State, former Florida Senator Marco Rubio, was there. And so was the MS-13 loving Democrat from Maryland, Chris Van Hollen, the senator. And he's just on the attack, and Marco Rubio was just eating his lunch.
You've openly flouted judicial orders to return Abrego Garcia. When asked whether you have been in touch with El Salvador,
return him? We did return him.
Quote, I would never tell you that. I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job based on what I know.
Well, that's just a flippant statement.
Yeah, it is just a flippant statement and richly deserved.
In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker.
The one you had a margarita with.
Is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear. In the days to come,
Mr.
you're
Chairman,
going to see who you went to
Senator,
defend.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Secretary Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated comments like that.
They should run over there and hit him in the head with a shovel. Just amazing stuff. And Van Hollen is on the side of evil and not good, not on our side. By the way, the Justice Department, Harmeet Dillon, the Civil Rights Division, is pulling out of a lame-brained anti-police Biden effort after George Floyd, St. George of fentanyl, who the Democrats worship like he's a god. Civil Rights Chief, Justice Department said the government will drop out of phony Biden-era reform agreements, anti-police agreements negotiated with the Biden administration, undoing signature effort to reshape local law enforcement after the high-profile killing by a police officer. George Floyd, and the Democrats rioted and looted the city and burned everything from coast to coast and killed dozens of people, caused billions in damage. And there's a fun piece, so much to get to, a fun piece also from the good people, the Media Research Center, the wonderful and outstanding Media Research Center, Newsbusters, just great stuff. NewsGuard still gives high marks to media that covered up Biden mental health decline. And it's full of great stuff, the Newsbusters thing. And they've got a great quote in here about Joe Biden's brain. She's a no good, she's a broke. We should share this on our social media with the nice people out there. The Democrats. His brains are broke. They're still going to cover it up.